started. So what do y'all got today?
Well, we're going to talk about umbrella policies. We've talked about them a lot of times because they're important, so that's why we talk about it a lot. An umbrella policy, in a nutshell, gives you an extra layer of liability coverage over your homeowners, your auto. We're talking personal lines today, so over your boat, over any liability policy that you have. Yeah, so say that you have your auto policy and your homeowner's policy, you have $500,000 liability on those policies, and umbrella gives you an extra $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever you purchase over those policies.
It's a added extra layer.
It extends the limits of liability based off of what you have underneath the umbrella. So think of an umbrella. You have a typical umbrella, and you have all your policies underneath it. You have your auto, your home, your boat, your motorcycles, all those. If you ever have an incident that hits the max, let's say a typical auto policy carries $300,000 liability. Let's say if you have a $500,000 claim, it can happen very easily. You hit that $300,000, your auto policy is out. They're like, we hit the max, you're on your own, see you later. Well, that's when your umbrella carrier would step in and extend the rest of it. There are some policies out there that a lot of people get confused when they hear umbrella, because I always love talking to clients. They're like, yeah, I'm covered for everything. I have an umbrella policy. It's like, well, that's not exactly how that works, but there are some that will cover pretty much anything as long as it's not excluded. And that is the big thing. It's like, yeah, we'll cover everything unless it's excluded. And you have to read those exclusions.
And one of those is, do you have a business in your home?
Exactly.
Those are excluded sometimes. So there's a couple of examples, real life examples. This one, a person was driving on a two-lane road when he hit a pedestrian who was walking home from work. The pedestrian suffered serious head trauma. The person driving, they weren't speeding, no alcohol. Their cell phone records show that no phone was in use at the time of the incident. The guy was walking in the road, and the person didn't see them. And their auto policy paid $500,000. Their umbrella policy paid $2 million. That was the judgment that was against them. So, I mean, that. Something similar happened to my dad a long time ago, except this person chose to jump out in front of my dad to kill themselves, which was horrible thing, and that was a different thing. But like this guy, this person didn't do anything wrong. The person was walking in the road, and it was late at night, and he didn't see, and he hits this guy, and there you go.
Okay, question is, I'm sure somebody's probably driving along there going, okay, this is a great idea, probably something that I should do. How much more above is it price-wise? I mean, are we talking big money here? Are we talking easy money?
Very easy money.
Yeah,
okay. Because the thing is umbrellas don't typically get hit.
Right.
It's very rare when they do, but man, if they do, it's a bad incident. And we're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah.
A typical policy will cost a couple of $100 a year. You can get them pretty darn cheap. Read the fine print though. Make sure you talk to your agent. Make sure they explain everything to you. Make sure they actually help you understand what you're purchasing, because that way you don't get confused and be like, I'm covered for everything. I'm going to drive this motorcycle I just bought, and I don't need a policy for it because I got an umbrella. Yeah, that's not true, bud.
And they're not expensive. There are some things that will make them a little more expensive. If you have bad driving records, you've had lots of liability claims, then some of that will make the umbrella go up. But for your regular typical person, it's like Brett said, a couple $100 for $1 million.
And not only that, it's all about the underlying policies and your lifestyle. So if you're just a typical, you have a sedan, you have a home, you have a few children, it's going to be cheap. If you have a home, multiple cars, a boat, motorcycles, planes, you start getting up into the higher assets, that's when they start really looking at it and going, okay, your risk is a lot higher, you have more assets, we're going to look at this because the likelihood of your umbrella getting hit is much higher, thus increasing in premium. But for the typical everyday person, they're dirt cheap.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, I'm not an expert anyway whatsoever, but it seems to me like if you are going to be doing a lot of driving, okay, and your exposure, I guess you'd say, is bigger because you're doing a lot of driving, for $200-300 a year, if you just have one or two cars, I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and there's a myth that, well, if I carry high limits, they're going to sue me. No. if you hurt somebody, there's an accident, they're going to sue you. They don't care what your insurance has. I've heard that. So have you heard that?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, I don't want to buy $1 million. Somebody will just sue me for that. That's not how it works. They'll sue you in that judgment, even if you don't have the money. You don't have $1 million or $2 million. A judgment against you can last forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you really want to think about it just because of the, you know, the price not being so high. We always say, you know, and then we've talked about this before too, we would rather see you put your money into higher liability limits because that's something that you can't predict, than to put your money into physical damage on your vehicle that's a little bit older because you know what it's worth. You know if something happens to it, okay, I'm going to be out this amount of money. You do not know on a liability limit, so it's a smarter purchase to have higher liability than it is to have to insure things like vehicles.
You know, something I saw the other day, and I don't know if this falls in that category, but there was a guy who had been involved in an accident, and he killed the other driver. Well, the lawyer went and sued the guy who was involved in the wreck for child support, to pay child support to this guy's kids until they were 18 years old. I mean, I don't know how old his kids were and stuff, but man, that could cost you a lot of money.
I think they're starting to do that with drunk drivers.
Yeah.
There's that, but also loss of income, loss of wage, loss of other things can also drive up lawsuits as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say it's not going to happen to me. And I'll tell you right now, that's terrible thinking because I remember a 22-year-old driving down the road and got sideswiped by a crazy lady and went underneath his vehicle and then a few days later he got hit with a lawsuit for $1 million.
Who was that happened?
I don't know. It was totally not me.
Well, I'm just saying is that, you know, when you look at situations like this, I mean, like in this guy's case, he's going to be paying, you know, $2,000 a month for the rest of his, for 20 years,
Yeah,
you know, for something like this. And so, I mean, if you got the money, good. But then if you don't, I mean, this is kind of a way to take care of that.
So it's definitely a good buy. Like we said, it goes over auto, goes over home, goes over boat, motorcycle. You just need to make sure that your insurance agent knows you have all of those things. Have it all with one insurance agent. If it's us, great. If it's not, great. Have all of your policies with one agent so they can coordinate that stuff properly.
Oh man, have you ever tried to deal with like, you have like a home over here, an auto at this agent,
Yeah.
you got a boat over here, and then they're like, I want an umbrella. It's like, sure guy, like,
Yeah,
like can we get some policies? Like we need the underlying stuff, we need to look at it, and it just becomes it's messy, very, very messy. And for people, they need to grab all that, put it together. The absolute best thing to do is have it all with one carrier.
Yes.
And then have that carrier go over the top of the umbrella. Because if something occurs, you're not going to have one carrier A saying, well, you know, this happened, carrier B saying this. It's all going to be with one carrier. It's all out of the same pocket. So they're not going to try to toss it onto the other party.
Well, that's good. All right. If folks need to get to talk to y'all about this, how do they get a hold of you?
Come see us, second floor, Ciera Bank and Graham. Call us 940-549-2525.
Well, if you're in the Hudson Oaks area and you just want to stop by and say hi, we're over there at the 2950 Fort Worth Highway, Suite 500 in Hudson Oaks, and you can call us at 817-770-0096.
And then there's the ever popular BrianINS.com.
Brian with a Y.
All
Come
right,
see us
we'll get it done.
online.
Yeah.
Run Insurance, and it's a great idea that if you do a lot of driving and you're out there and liability is, or at least your exposure is high, then you need to call them up and check this out.
And even if you don't do a lot of driving, you still have exposure.
Yeah,
You could hit somebody on your way to work.
it could be a bad deal.
If you live by school like us.
Yes. Oh yeah. The Indy 500 every
Yeah.
day about our house. Exactly.
So if you just drive a car at all,
Is it really bad over there?
yeah.
Oh
I don't even go that way. I go back. I don't go
yeah.
on
Before and after school, lunchtime.
Yeah.
It's hilarious watching those cars come out of that
man.
parking lot. I mean, they are moving.
Yeah.
Every one of them. All right, thanks guys. Come by and visit with us. Very much appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed being on the radio with you guys.
Anytime.